SLA Video Productions presents live and on tape from the beautiful Westlake Community Services Center in Westlake, Ohio. It's Westlake Live!
Okay, well, yay, everybody's here. This is our largest crowd, so I think that's an indication that Mary Beth has a following. How many of you have never seen her perform, just out of curiosity? Oh, quite a few. All right, then you are in for a major treat. I will tell you that I started going to see her at the Lakewood Library. And the first time I saw her, I was hooked, and I almost became a groupie because every time I read she was somewhere, I wanted to go.
Lucky
here.
me.
Yes, yeah. So she, as you will see or have been hearing, she plays the violin and does a lot of fun chatter in between. But she's been doing this a long time, but we've had conversations about what's going on in your life. So I understand you just made a trip abroad.
Yes.
So you went to?
We went to Portugal and then on to Germany. I have a cousin in Germany who had a baby, and they were getting the baby baptized. It's called Taufe in German. So they were having the baptism, and they asked me to play. So after our lovely trip walking around the south of Portugal, it's called the Algarve, it's beautiful and very relaxing, we flew over to Nuremberg, Germany, and I played at the baptism. But I had to rent a violin because this violin was at home under the bed. Mm-hmm. So I rented a violin from a local music store.
Ooh.
Not good. But I made the best of it. It was a good student model, but it was serviceable for the event. And I played, it was in a Lutheran church, and I played a Mighty Fortress, and I played Bach, and I played some Brahms, just some German favorites. And then there were some young people there, so I threw in a baby shark.
Oh!
Not at the actual baptism, but at the reception.
Okay, so you travel a lot. Do you perform other times as you travel, or was this a specific event that you did it for the baptism?
I did it for the baptism.
Okay, because I couldn't imagine you lugging a violin all over.
No, I was very nervous about, I would be very nervous about taking it. Now, I do take it down to Florida where my sister lives, and I'll play down there. She lives close to a military base, so that's really fun, I believe, for the folks there.
Okay, that's great. Now, because there are many people here that are not aware of your background, tell them some of the other places locally that you have performed, because you're going to be very impressed with her resume of performances, so give us some insight on that.
Yes, Addie, I've performed, I don't even want to say how many decades, but when I got out of graduate school in Pennsylvania, I came back and started playing at the Front Row Theater. I don't know if you guys remember, the Front Row is in the round and not a bad seat in the house. So there were many performers there that I accompanied in the orchestra pit. Tony Bennett, Johnny Mathis, Liberace, to name a few. And that was really fun because it was an active, vibrant place and audiences were filling the hall. Now I think it's a Home Depot. It's very sad. It's very sad. But I loved it. And then I auditioned and got into the Ohio Chamber Orchestra, which was the orchestra providing music for the Cleveland Ballet and the Cleveland Opera. If any of you ever took kids to the Nutcracker, you've heard me already, because I played that for 25 years. I also play with the Cleveland Pops Orchestra. We have our concerts at Severance Hall, directed by the great Carl Topolo, who's a showman. He's very, very good with the audience and with
the
music.
red clarinet.
The red clarinet, you know it well. Yes, he's a genius.
Yes.
So I do that, but I think my most favorite thing for the past about 8 years has been playing at retirement communities, senior facilities, hospice, and Metro. Metro Health is devoted to connecting with patients on a human level as well as a medical level. So they're bringing the arts into the facility. There's beautiful art on the wall, there's cello, there's flute, there's guitar, there's me. So I really enjoy it. And I play for everything from, there was a baby coming into the world and Mom was very stressed out. So they had me come and play outside the door. And I played an Over the Rainbow. And I heard, wah, wah, wah. The baby came. I was very proud. And I had never been in labor and delivery because I married very late in life, and that ship kind of sailed, you know. There was no children for me, but I've taught children, and I really loved playing for them. But this mom invited me in after the baby was born, and she asked me to play something for the baby. And I said, okay. So I picked the violin up, and I played Happy Birthday. Because that's your only real birthday, right?
Right, that's true.
There's one birthday. Everything else is an anniversary. Ooh. So I did that. And then I go to orthopedics. And in orthopedics, I'm kind of mischievous. I play Don't Get Around Much anymore.
Yes. She has a good sense of humor. You'll discover that.
And you can find something for every department to play. I was in optometry, and I played I Don't Only Have Eyes for You. You know? So something can be found for every department, and I love it. And after the baby was born, I had 2 more gigs that day. And the next gig was at St. John Cathedral downtown. It was a wedding, very traditional, very beautiful wedding. And I played the traditional wedding marches. I played Ave Maria. I played just beautiful music throughout the Mass. Then I left and went to hospice. And there was a gentleman from Ireland who was passing, and his sisters were in from Dublin. And I sat right on the bed, and I played a Danny Boy for him. And he was only 44 years old. Ooh. It was very sad, but he was passing away. And I drove home that evening thinking, wow, I didn't know any of these people, but I was a sort of escort with them on these rites of passage that we all go through. The birth was a coming in. The passing away was a going out. And in the middle, the marriage was a punctuation of a life event, very important. So these are the things I do, and I love I'm happier playing than not playing. Sometimes people say, oh, don't play, just rest and relax. No, I'm happier playing.
You do the lobby of Playhouse Square too, right?
Yes, when folks are coming into the shows at Playhouse Square and they're in the lobby and they're in line to get their hot Bavarian pretzels and their coffee or their drinks, I'm playing the violin for them. I call myself a Walmart greeter with a violin because I greet them as they come in. The last show I played was Jesus Christ Superstar. Did anyone see that? I see a hand. Yes, Jesus Christ Superstar by Andrew Lloyd Webber was last February.
Okay. And
it was supposed to be right at the beginning of COVID, but after the second performance, we shut down. The interesting thing about the show is the strings, the violins, cellos, viola, we were up in the box seats along the wall of the theater. And we were illuminated and we were in costume. So it was just a fabulous production. And but you can't have 2,500 people in a theater with beginnings of COVID. So that got postponed, but it did come back, which is wonderful. So that's the last thing I did at Playhouse Square, hoping to do more, but we never know. We never know. They decide whether they're going to bring their own musicians, because these are touring Broadway troops that go all over, and sometimes they say, we want the local musicians to play, and they contact the union. We're all in the musicians' union, and then the union calls us. There's a contractor, and then the Cleveland Strings play. So that's how that goes. But my freelancing takes me from playing for a 100th birthday party to playing for a memorial service to all these weddings I mentioned. There's a lot of 50th anniversaries going on right now. I think it's the demographic. A lot of folks are celebrating their 50th. So I play for these events. One man had me play on the porch as a surprise to his wife. I was on the front porch with my violin playing Wise Men Say Only Fools Rush In. I can't sing, but that's a very popular song 50 years ago. And also the song from Romeo and Juliet, the movie back then, A Time for Us. So he was in the bushes, the husband, and I was on the porch. And it was in the summer, and the door was open, and the wife was vacuuming. So I had to wait a little bit on the porch until she finished her chore. And she turned around and saw me, and she screamed. But there he was in the bushes, and he exited the bushes with a bouquet of flowers and brought it up, and I was playing. She was very touched. So that's another thing I do, events like that. And I'm doing in November 16th, you all are invited to Trinity Cathedral. It's free, it's at noon, you can bring your lunch. It's called the Trinity Brown Bag Concert Series, and I'll be playing with my string quartet.
I was just going to ask you about them. They're called Amethyst?
Amethyst, like the
Amethyst.
gem, that's our name. And we love to play things together. But this concert's interesting. It's a game of, a concert of video game music. You know, the kids today, do you remember the Pac-Man? Waka, waka, waka. Well, they've gotten very sophisticated, these games. You might see children or grandchildren playing these games. They're very sophisticated. The music is absolutely gorgeous. It's all influenced by classical music, but it's new and done well. So we'll be playing music from that genre, but believe me, you would love it. So
okay, well, one other thing about the genres that you do, I also heard in one of your little speeches that I'm going to tell them about, that you also backed up The Who?
Yes.
In contrast to all this other...
How many of you have heard of the rock group The Who?
We all have.
We all.
Okay, yeah.
And the lead singer is?
Pete Townsend.
And?
Oh, right.
Roger
Sorry.
Daltrey,
Okay,
who I've
yeah.
had a bit of a... Maybe this is making a pumping noise. Anyway, I have loved Roger Daltrey for decades, and I played for him about 25 years ago. He came to the Coliseum, and actually his show was the last show at the Coliseum. You were there. I love it. Then you remember that he had a string section, and I was the one who hired them. I got called to subcontract this, so I hired folks, and a lot of these classical string players said, "Who?"
It's like, who's on first? One of those.
Yeah. They never heard of them. And I said, Roger Daltrey, Tommy, Quadrophenia, who's next? You have never heard? No, they were busy in the practice room. Well, so was I, but I made time for my rock and roll. I'm a Clevelander. So 25 years ago, backed him up.
Okay.
And it was called, as you might remember, Roger Daltrey does the music of Pete Townsend. And so
okay, that's where that came in. I knew that was that's the name I associate with The Who is Pete, so forgive me.
Of course, you're a brilliant composer. So then a year ago, this past September, they came back, not just Roger, but The Who. And they played at Blossom. And again, I got to back him up. I have a picture of me and Roger, which I cherish.
Oh, have you ever backed up the Moody Blues? Because they
several times.
did a lot of
several times.
orchestration.
The Moody Blues was fabulous. I love backing these guys up because you get to see sort of a behind-the-scene look at a rock group and what they do and their little rituals. For instance, Barry Manilow, when I backed him up at Blossom, he has it in his contract that you do not look at him. The orchestra must avert their eyes and look this way until he comes on the stage. Then you're allowed to face forward. It's very interesting. They have these little little peculiarities, but that's what they do. And I'm trying to think of who else. Oh, Rod Stewart gave every musician a bottle of wine.
Wow.
So that's a classy guy. I love that. That was really fun. There was something else I was going to tell you about Roger Daltrey and the performance at Blossom. There was something important about this.
Well, you know what? Think about it, because I'm going to give a little plug for you, and forgive me if I read it off my cheat sheet, because when you talked about COVID, I have a link that somebody sent me. Go to YouTube and look up music series, The Romantic Violin with Mary Beth Ions. It's in conjunction with the Hudson Library and Historical Society. She did it on Valentine's Day from her home during COVID.
Right.
And she plays all these beautiful romantic songs that we all know from show tunes and movies. And I'll tell you, with watching the news right now and everything, if you're not into The Bachelorette or any of that stuff, and you just want a classy hour of entertainment, please look that up and you will not be disappointed. So did you think of what you were going to, the Roger Dahl thing? Oh, I'm sorry. But I really wanted,
me another few minutes.
because I think once you hear her play, you're going to want more. Therefore, this is one avenue. And I think once you get on her link, there's probably other things that that can be available to watch. Now, you mentioned your graduate school. Where did you go?
I went to Penn State University.
Okay.
I went to Baldwin Wallace Conservatory for undergraduate. Then I went to Penn State. They had a generous assistantship. If you played in the orchestra and taught some music history, you got an assistantship, and it was wonderful. And there was a great string quartet teaching there. And actually, the string quartet had appeared on the West Shore concert series, Rocky River concert series. And they were my teachers, so I loved that. And Joe Paterno and the Nittany Lions would come to the Nittany Lion Inn every Sunday for brunch, and we would play for them. That was the heyday of the football team, so that was fun. So that's where I went, Penn State University.
Okay, and you've been playing the violin for how long?
Years.
Your entire life? Oh, okay, all right, we won't go there then.
Excuse me.
And why do you like this instrument so much?
Oh my gosh.
What does it mean to you? I mean, you're joined at the hip, basically.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. That's probably why
shoulder.
I didn't get married till I was 57, because I've been married to this. And it's been very faithful. And I think I chose it because when I first put it in my hands and kind of faked out a little twinkle twinkle, I just loved it. And it's like a voice. In fact, the violin is the closest instrument to the human voice. So it's interesting to play it. When I'm playing Titanic theme, I can pretend I'm Celine Dion.
Yeah.
When I'm playing, I remembered what I was going to say about the Who.
Good.
This popped in my mind. Guess who the drummer was for the Who? Ringo Starr's son.
Oh my God.
His name is Zach Starkey. Looks just like Ringo. So that was really fun to play for the Who and look over there and see the child of Ringo Starr. So that's what I wanted to make sure to remember, because it was very cool.
So beyond what you play here, do you ever play really hardcore rock songs? I mean, would we ever find you doing something that's... Because I just heard you playing Cat Stevens earlier, but that's kind of soft rock.
Right. Well, rock and roll bands used to use strings all the time. They were very symphonic. There was a rock group called Whitesnake. They used the full symphony orchestra for their music, and I loved it. A lot of these groups, and disco era, used symphonies all the time, strings all the time. And now they have these keyboards called DX7s that sound like the strings, sound like a trumpet, they sound like a French horn. I'd like to say they're just awful, but they're not. They really emulate the sound of instruments. So a lot of the rock bands now don't need to hire live people. They have this digital means of producing a really beautiful sound, much to our dismay. I don't know. I think human beings playing just add a warmth, and live music changes the energy in a room. It does. So I still love.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you, why is music so important? I think it is, because it can change your mood. I'm a big cinema person, and so the people who do the scores, they just elevate the story. And she'll probably play a lot of that.
I love that.
But music is just a wonderful thing to have in your life, and I kind of feel bad for people that don't have that interest. So how do you feel about...
Oh, I agree, Addie. I find that music is non-political, non-invasive. It's just welcoming. You take it, it goes where words can't always go. I find it's a ministry. I truly do. I feel like when you play, someone can take that sound and do what they will with it. They can meditate, they can have a memory of something in the past. They can use it to be cheered up or to be mellowed out. It's just, music is powerful, in my opinion. And I played at one senior center, and a lady came up to me. She said, I didn't want to come today because I heard that there was a violin player. And I hate the violin. But now I don't hate it as much after hearing. And I was, yes.
Yeah.
But I think the violin is portable. I'm not at a piano or a keyboard or a harp where you can't move so easily. So I love the ability to stroll, and I do that often. And I play up close and personal. That's the name of my one-woman show. And I played for a tour group called JKL Tours.
Oh,
Has anyone heard of JKL? It's run by, oh gosh, you guys know, John Lakovic. He's delightful. I played while they gave a slideshow, and every place they'd go, I'd play music that was associated with that, could be associated with that place. Amish country, Simple Gifts. Da, da, dum, da, 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 dum. And I played that. New York, what else am I going to play? New York, you got the jazz hands at it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then when he would show places of worship, I would do Amazing Grace, things like that. And you're so right. You go to the cinema. If you took music out of the movie, imagine Jaws without da-dum, da-dum,
Yeah.
da-dum, da-dum. I mean, what could represent the murky deep better than those two notes?
Do you have a favorite genre? Because I like all kinds of music except for a couple genres. But do you have a favorite? Because you play so much classical show tunes, movie music, but I'm assuming you like rock and roll as well.
Love, yes.
Yeah.
I have a favorite. I don't listen to classical music when I'm doing something that requires concentration, because I start analyzing it. I start saying, oh, well, that modulated right there. Oh, that went into cut time. Oh, that, I think I'm listening to the technical aspect of it, so I can't just easily listen to it to relax. So that's when I put on the Who. But my favorite is, I went to Baldwin Wallace, very steeped in the Bach Festival and the music of Bach. So I do love Bach. I think, he was born in 1685, died in 1750. So we're talking centuries ago. But the music is absolutely timeless. It's gorgeous. If you get a chance to listen to Bach, put it on. It will change your, your perspective on things. He was writing music so ahead of his time, and the harmonies and the magnificent structure of the music. I learned to love Bach when I was at Baldwin Wallace, and our conductor, the illustrious Dwight Oltman, who I love to this day, he said, all of you in college are way too young to be playing this music. You're way too young. You have not lived life enough to bring what it really needs. And we all looked at each other. This music isn't that hard to play. Bach is da 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 da. We're playing. It's not that technically difficult, but I understand what he meant now. He said you have to be at least 60 to play this music with the right feeling. And we thought that was going to be ancient history. It's not. And I love Mozart. You can't, that's to me like touching God, playing Bach and Mozart. You have this realization that there's something much bigger than us when you play this music, because it's really miraculous, these prodigies that produce this music. So I love that. But I do love songs from the 40s and 50s, the Great American Songbook. I try to bring that to my facilities where I play, because the Great American Songbook works even without the words. Go figure. You would think you would need the words to Summertime, but I know people are thinking the words in their mind, so I love it.
Well, you are a one-man band, or one-woman band, I should say, because we're going to go into her performing very, very soon, if not within minutes. And you will see that one woman and one instrument can just create this marvelous experience. So why don't we just go ahead and take it away?
Thanks, Addie. I wanted to tell you one thing. The violin is close to 300 years old now. We got it from a man in Beechwood in 1979, and he had several violins lined up on a sofa. And he wanted me to taste test them one at a time. A, B, C. This was C. And my dad came with me and put his back to me, and I went through each violin like a taste test. And this kept coming out on top. It was $7,900 back then. My dad worked on the railroad. I know a lot of railroad songs. And he did a lot of overtime to pay for this instrument. But the back is curly maple, like a headboard of your bed. A very strong wood, hardwood. Top is spruce, much softer. So like a drum that has a harder bottom and softer top, this is the way to get the sound out to you through the soft wood on top. And these are F holes, fancy letter Fs. The bridge is pine. The strings are not catgut. They never were. They were sheep gut. But the strings are now made of Perlon, which is like a nylon, very strong. And mountain climbers use the exact same material. So that's how strong these strings are, so that they don't break when you're in the humidity at Blossom Music Center. So that's a little bit of the makeup of the violin.
Oh, thank you. That was informative.
Yeah,
it's good to know that sort of thing.
I find it really important because then when you listen, you see the mechanics going on there. For instance, does anyone know what the bow is made out of? What kind of hair this is? Horsehair is correct. Not a Cleveland Metro Park horse. This horse comes from Siberia or Mongolia, where the horses grow very thick hair, and they cut the tail, bleach it white, and they send some to Fairview Park, where I get my bow rehaired about twice a year. So that's interesting because the hairs wear out. You might see people pop a hair. That's fine, because actually I could make a lot of sound on just one or two of these hairs, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes, it's really fun.
That's really interesting.
Ebony here, and this is called Pernambuco wood. It's exotic. It comes from the Amazon. They no longer harvest it, as they no longer harvest ebony. So there's some valuable materials. The bow was made in the 1800s. It's a German bow. The violin, as I said, centuries old, made in Bohemia, a copy of something really good. So it's like finding a Picasso, but not really, like finding a work of his students that molded their style after his. So does anyone have a request? I love requests, and I don't want to forget. Yes, ma'am. Carmen, yes. I played in the Cleveland Opera for years, and my favorite opera was Carmen. I love Puccini also, but Carmen has a piece of music in it called the Habanera. And Carmen was composed by a Frenchman named Bizet. Bizet, a Frenchman, writing this colorful, just charming music.
Thank you for that. That was good to bring up how
It's just
the instrument
interesting,
is made.
and
Yes.
it's not plugged in, Addie. The violin is acoustic. It's not plugged in. It's not enhanced. It just works. And from the time they created it, they have not been able to make it better. A lot of talking about the Stradivarius and what makes it so great. They have no idea. It might have been a worm in the wood that year, because they've tried to cut down trees that are 300 years old and construct. It doesn't work. They don't know what makes this. But a Strad, you could be standing in the middle of Brown Stadium, and I could be holding and playing a Strad in the last row, and it's like a laser beam. The sound is so big. And it would work with this violin too, but the Stradivarius is, there's a reason they're $14 million. But it's amazing. So a little Carmen. Stand by.
Yeah, we're still gonna.
Yes. I'm going to open with a very Spanish flashy effect that might make you think of the Matador coming out to proceed with the opera by Bizet. Any other requests? Love Me Tender. Are you an Elvis fan?
This is my walking down the aisle for my wedding.
Oh,
50 years
what a
old.
wonderful
Like
memory.
the beat, you know.
Good. If somebody cries a little, I feel like all those squeaky, squawky scales I practiced were worth it. And on that same note, the song I've been playing for the many 50th anniversaries is Wise Men Say, Only Fools Rush In, but I can't help falling in love with you. Here we go. And just a few little classical pieces because how many of you enjoy classical music?
Oh, I do.
Yes,
Love
yes,
it.
it's wonderful. I'll do just, maybe a little Bach. Let's do the one I hummed before. Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring.
Let's move up a century to Mozart.
And I love the music of George Gershwin.
Oh, yes.
I know, Gershwin. Porgy and Bess. What beautiful music there. Rhapsody in Blue. People ask me for that
That's
a lot,
one of
but
my favorite.
I'm not a piano player. That's for piano. But I do love some of the facilities where I play, the senior living facilities, assisted living and such. I like to play Someone to Watch Over Me at those places. And I kind of give the staff the eye. Watch over you. It's kind of a cute song.
Jazz it a little bit. Since they're all over my yard, how about Autumn Leaves?
Since I'm such a huge Beatles fan, I'm sure you played, I think you've played Yesterday, haven't you?
Yes.
Or something else that, you don't do I Am the Walrus though, right? No,
Oh, I
I'm just
love that.
kidding.
I'll do
I'm
it for you
joking.
next time.
Okay.
But yes, Beatles, it's funny how a lot of the young brides that I play for are asking for unusual things. One bride, 22 years old, wanted Tennessee Waltz. Wow. I thought, did you listen to the lyrics?
Yeah,
And it's
somebody stole her man.
Somebody stole her man.
Yeah.
And the same with One Wanted Yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay.
Yeah.
She's ready to go down the aisle. But, you know, I'm going to receive a check from the bride, so I do whatever she wants.
But I think the point is a lot of their music can be done with orchestration, and it's beautiful what they wrote.
The Beatles.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Absolutely stunning. Not one song resembles the next. You know, they're all so different. And some are kind of country-ish, believe it or not. There's one called Norwegian Wood.
And
it kind of has a little bit of a twang, like a little bit of a country feel.
That's a good
one thing I forgot to mention, Addie, is I love to play for memory care units. Oh my gosh. Something incredible happens. Do you remember, it was a number of years ago, Gabby Giffords,
Yes.
the congresswoman who was shot? She was in extensive rehab. She was having trouble speaking, but when they had her try to sing, it was fine. Now,
It's-
what's going on
It's
there?
like Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, where
Did you see Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga? Oh,
where
my
he's
word.
got dementia now, I guess.
He's pretty
But yet, when
advanced.
he sings,
When he sings, it
he's-
goes. And I try to do themes. I'll go into a dementia or a memory care unit, and I'll say, today I'm going to play songs about the moon. So I might start with, etc. Fly me to the moon. Then I might do. Etc. Then I might do Blue Moon. Etc. I'll just do moon themes. And they get these. Not only do they know the titles, they know every word. And then in springtime, I do flower themes. So I'll play, I said, this is a flower. Now, of course, that's Daisy, and sometimes I go.
Tiptoe through the tulips.
And let's see if you, one more. See if you get this one. And that sometimes gets them thinking about other songs in The Sound of Music. So I might play a little bit of a. Etc. I don't want to go too long, but that's an idea that kind of spawns other ideas. They start thinking, and pretty soon, and these are folks, in some cases, they don't know their daughter sitting next to them, but they know every word of Blue Moon. So I would love to work with a researcher someday and try to figure out what's going on in this circuitry that music is helping connect the dots. That would be very gratifying for me someday.
Can you indulge me again? One of your concerts that I was going to go to and I somehow missed because I got the day is you guys, your quartet did Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh,
Would you like
yes.
to do something from their song?
Yes, we had a program at Trinity Cathedral, and I thought, why not do Simon and Garfunkel music? Those guys could sing. What a beautiful combo. So we put together, Here's to You, Mrs. Robinson. You know, people loved it. And then we did
Scarborough Fair.
Scarborough Fair. I mean, we did Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which I often play at maybe a place that needs something like that. Although I often play cheerful, upbeat songs. I don't play. I play at the cancer unit at Metro, and and I play even in infusion when folks are getting their chemo. I'm in there playing, and I can be softer by using this little mute. There's a little mute on the violin, and you actually can hear it as, let's see, like then if I take it off. Etc. But Simon and Garfunkel, there was a really cute song that they did. Slow down, you move too fast.
Yeah, feeling
Do you remember
groovy.
that?
Feeling groovy.
Yes.
Are you?
So, Simon and Garfunkel, I adore. Those voices really lend themselves well to violin. To transfer that over from what they're doing and take the melody, and the cello and the bass had all the harmonies and accompaniment. I was going to play a little bit of Bridge over Troubled Waters.
Do you have a website where people, now that the newbies that are here that are going to want to see you again, does it tell where you're going to be?
I should do a website, but I just haven't done it.
You don't? Okay, well,
I have business cards. Okay. If you guys want to look my name up and Google me, you can get in touch that way.
Okay, because I know the first time I heard you, like I said, I was hooked, and I would imagine some of these folks are now as well. So, because you're such a lucky person to do what you love, and you're really good at it, and you can make a living at it. And not that many people have that luxury, I think.
Well, it's very specialized, Addie. I can't cook. The husband cooks. I can't sew. I never had children. I have, this is kind of what I do. And it's
wonderful, and you bring so much joy to other people, so that should be gratifying.
Thank you. And I barring arthritis, you can keep going well along, into 80s and beyond. So.
Okay, well, do we want to move on to the last segment, which would be Q&A? For those of you who might have questions for Mary Beth, Cheryl is going to come down with a
gentleman here
with a microphone, and Paul will be our first.
Can you pretend that your beautiful violin is a fiddle and play something bluegrass?
Ooh, Ooh, something bluegrass has been requested. Sure. I often get the question, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? And I don't mean this in an unkind way, but sometimes I say it's the number of teeth in the performer's mouth. I don't mean that. Fiddle players have their teeth. I'm terrible for saying that.
Funny though.
It's so cute. I think I mentioned that my dad worked on the railroad. He was an engineer. Toot, toot. Therese remembers Elmer. His name was Elmer. There's an Elmer's tune. Did you ever hear of Elmer's tune? Yeah, it's really cute. But my dad loved train songs. So he liked the Orange Blossom Special. And this is cute. I'll just do a little bit of it because I have other stuff to play. But it emulates the sound of a train.
So it starts out.
There's one called Old Joe Clark.
Before you mentioned arthritis, I was wondering from, your repetitive movements, if you do certain exercises or ergonomic things to help you, with carpal or whatever.
That's a good question. Right. Oh, the neck. We all have a mark here. And when I was walking in Germany, someone came up and said, "Are you a violinist?" And I said, "Why, yes." He said, "So am I." And he showed me his mark on his neck. So we all get that callus. But I am at the Rocky River Rec Center constantly. When they shut down to clean, I came to your rec center and I didn't want to leave. I just loved it so much. But I love the upper body weights. So I do a lot of upper body weights because when I played Phantom of the Opera, the show is 3 hours long. Ooh. So you are literally, you're holding this and and you hold it up there and you play throughout and you're like this the whole time. So I do a lot of these weights where I work on the deltoids so that they can be, and it's worked. In fact, it even helps me get up when I'm weeding. I really advise all of you, anyone that's watching, please do some upper body weights. You'll be astounded. Take the milk carton and just do upper body weights because I get up off the floor easier now, just with my arms. If you got the arm strength, you don't have to sit there and lay there. So that's what I do. And the hands just, thank God they're not arthritic or anything yet, and there's no carpal tunnel. I did during COVID have a terrible pain in my first finger joint. So I went to a hand doctor and he said, he took x-rays. He goes, you violinists all have extra bone at the tip of each finger. Oh. And he showed me on the x-ray, there's a little fan, like an embroidered fan that goes above each fingertip. That's the extra bone that grows. When you walk, you kind of stimulate bone growth. But when you exert, I think it's 80 pounds of pressure we exert on here, you can actually develop stronger fingers.
I never knew that.
Crazy, who knew? Then it went away, the pain went away. No. Other questions?
This is my first time, Edith, and my friend Jillian brought me here. But I'm wondering if you are going to perform in Florida this winter, and if so, where?
Oh, yeah, I used to go down every March to visit my sister who's in Melbourne. And do you know Melbourne? So it's close to Cocoa Beach, and there's a church in Cocoa Beach, and my sister had a friend, and she said, do you want to play at the church, play violin at the church? And I said, sure. So I did. And then someone at the church worked at a local library, and they said, would you like to come and play at the library, talk about the instrument, talk about the, what it's made of, like I explained to you guys, because, I said, sure. And then somebody at the library knew somebody at another library, and then somebody at that library knew somebody at a church, and somebody up here knew that they go down every season, and they go to a church in Fort Lauderdale. And I said, oh, sure, I can go from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale, no problem. It's quite a hike. I didn't realize that, I borrowed my sister's car, and it took a long time, but I did it for 2 years. But I just haven't been down there because of COVID. But I'm not planning this winter. No, are you going to Florida?
Vero Beach.
That's right. I pass Vero Beach when I go to Fort Lauderdale. I know exactly where that is. There was a Stein Mart there where you could get cute clothes.
How old were you when you actually started?
10 years old.
10, okay.
10 years old.
Okay.
And it wasn't pretty. In fact, I started and it was like, my first solo was Silent Night at St. Mel. That's where I went to school. And it was... And my mother said, that is so beautiful. And my dad said, that stunk. That stunk. We need to get her over to the east side, to the University Circle, for some good violin lessons. And he paid $40 an hour, and that was a lot of money back there for a Cleveland Orchestra.
It's a lot now. Jeez.
James Barrett, he was associate concertmaster of the Cleveland Orchestra, true virtuoso, very old school, very a perfectionist. You grow up just nothing can be out of tune. You have to have good rhythm. You have to have good sound quality. Your bow arm has this whole thing is a technique all on its own. My gosh. But anyway, so yes, if somebody while I'm playing should yawn,
Oh, no.
I go right up to them. And I said, excuse me, did you just yawn during my show? And the person, sometimes you get somebody that says, oh, I was just catching some oxygen there. Or I was just, no, I don't mean it. And sometimes they get like, well, I love when someone yawns because then I can do that little shtick. Mm-hmm. Then I play, what I play right up to them? I go. So I end it really to wake them up, and they laugh. But when I was in Florida and I did a show at my sister in Melbourne, there's a military base there, and there was a retired general, and he yawned.
Uh-oh.
He was in the audience, and he yawned. And I went up to him, and I said, excuse me, General, did you just yawn? He turned no one ever was so horrified as him. And I whispered, I'm so glad you did. I can use this in my show. And he still was like, he did something wrong. It was so cute. It was so cute. So,
with everything that you've done, is there still something on your bucket list in performing that you haven't?
That's a really good question, Addie. Wow, what do I dream of?
Like somebody you'd like to back up, or a show you'd like to be a part of, or somewhere you'd like to play, some really amazing venue?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love all these Broadway shows that I play. I love, love, love them. And I think when Hamilton comes, I sure would love to play that. That's a real tricky, rappy kind of. It's funny, sometimes people come to town, and like Sherrod Brown came to the Musicians Union a couple weeks ago. And the man, no matter what you think of his politics, he saved our musicians' pension. Oh, and, so
for him.
I got to play for him. But I would love to play for somebody like like Oprah, or some
Or
big,
one of those White House concerts, of course, depending on who the
what
occupant is. But
what a White House! Wouldn't that be fun? I mean,
yeah.
when I get home, I'm gonna think, oh, I should have said I liked here, and here.
well, I'll
here,
give
but,
you something to think about.
Yep, will, and maybe something to aim for.
There you go. There you go.
A little bit of history of the bow. My friend paid $3,000 for his bow. What do the average bows cost
Well,
today?
bows
or-
can be up to $1 million for a bow, or more. There's a bow that's made by a Frenchman named Tourte, Tourte. And if you ever go to a garage sale, or if I go to a garage sale and find a Tourte bow, you have just hit it big, because they're magnificent. They make these on a lathe, so they make them. And if there's one thing that goes wrong, you scratch it. Mm-hmm. The Tourte bow has solid gold down here. It has mother of pearl. It has the ebony. It has magnificent wood. It has inside, there's a mechanism that allows you to do all those fancy bow strokes. Its mechanism is like magic. When you put bow to string, it makes everything 500 times easier. This is a German bow. I like it because it bounces. It can bounce around a lot, like for the William Tell Overture. You can just do it does that. The Tourte bow, you would hardly have to do anything. Just would do that automatically. And but this is a good solid German bow, and $3,000 is not expensive at all. I have this violin and bow insured for around $80,000, but if I were to lose it or if someone stole it, I could never replace it for that money, never. To get a good violin, you were talking $300,000 and up. There was a time during the 1980s where folks from all over the world, especially China, they came over and they scoured the country. They went to the big violin shops in Chicago and New York, and they bought them all up. Now, we have people making them now. Up in upstate New York, there are makers, and out west, there are violin makers. That's a gamble, because they're charging $25,000 to $35,000 for their instrument, maybe $40,000 and $50,000, and you don't know if it's going to stand the test of time. Next year, it may blow out and not sound as good. You don't know, because you don't know what you have until you've had it about 5-10 years. Now, that's an exception with something like this. If it's been in this shape for almost 300 years, it's going to be fine. But when there's a new maker, and he might go to all the specs and do everything exactly according to a Stradivarius or something, and it might sound like a cannon, big and bold, but it might not last. And that's a chance you take. So that's why I keep the insurance going. But I would never be able to, I'm so afraid something will happen to it. I get really afraid, but I always have it with me at least. And any more questions?
Could you please play either the theme from Schindler's List or Fritz Kreisler's Liebesfreude?
You really expected me to practice a lot this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to suggest Liebesstrom. I love that. That's pretty.
Which one?
The first one he
Schindler. I would have brought my music. I haven't committed that to memory yet.
But
Doc,
I think
I'll...
Liebesstrom was the second one, wasn't it? Oh, well, whatever.
Well, there's Liebesfreude. Well, I have to practice that one. I'll bring it back to you practiced. And there's Love's Joy and Love's Sorrow. Two beautiful pieces by Fritz Kreisler. One is very solemn and ballad, like a beauty, and the other one is very, let's see. Something like that. So I'll bring that back next time learned. And here's a little Schindler's List. Let's see. Just a little sampling, That's written by John Williams, and how he captured the spirit of the Warsaw Ghetto, how he captured the Jewish angst, the problems, how he captured that in this music. What an amazing composer. John Williams also composed Star Wars. Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know this, Luke. Duke. And of course, get out of the water. I didn't even want to get in the bathtub back then. How he captures that shark. I played that at a fish fry during Lent. You guys got it. Nobody got it.
That is good.
Duke is laughing at me.
Someone way back there, Cheryl's got their hand up. That is funny, though. That's why I love your sense of humor.
Thank you, Addie.
Yeah.
Yes, let me say for all of us, this has been an amazing time spent with you. And
I love you
wondered,
guys. Thank you.
I wondered if you played any of the late, great Laura Nyro.
I love Laura Nyro.
I'm sorry?
But it's on the list. I'll put it on the list.
I love this song on one of her tracks, Emmy. And she composed and wrote for so many other artists.
In the 60s, right? She was very big in that decade.
60s, 70s, yeah. I love Laura. I will definitely put that on the list.
Thank you.
List. You know, it's like a jukebox up here. And I played for some young people, and they said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, you used to put money in this." I said, "But sometimes the quarter gets stuck, and you stump me." So I know. Let me ask Duke something. Duke, what theme is this? Now, that's Harry Potter. Yeah. You got to learn stuff for the young ones. How about this one?
You should play that at the Natural History Museum at the dinosaur
You
exhibit.
knew that was from Jurassic Park, you know, and I love the Disney themes, a lot of Disney themes. One bride that had a little parade of flower girls. They were so cute. They went from about 12 down to a year and a half.
Oh.
And when they came down the aisle, she wanted me to play. Walking, you know, you can keep going as they're walking till the last one gets up there. But that was kind of cute to have Disney for the little ones.
Mary Beth, what did you actually play with the Who?
Oh my gosh, we did many parts of Tommy. Listening to you, I get the music, gazing at you, and Mama's got a squeeze box she wears on her chest, and what else? Much Tommy, as I said, and all their main hits.
We Won't Get Fooled Again.
Won't Get Fooled Again was and they had a violinist.
I like the opening.
They had a violinist that goes with them. She's a young Asian, beautiful woman that plays that big, in Baba O'Reilly, that out here in the fields, and she has that big violin solo at the end. Oh, I was so jealous.
Oh, man. Okay, I think we have answered all your questions. Or nope, there's another one.
Hi, did they start you off on a half or three-quarter size violin?
Three-quarter size you start out. You know, when the people take Suzuki violin, They start on these little violins that you could hang on your rearview mirror. They're so little. They could be Christmas tree ornaments. But the little ones learn. They don't learn notes yet. They learn. So they go, Mississippi Batman, Mississippi Batman, Mississippi hot dog, Mississippi hot dog. They learn little words and they play on these teeny little violins. They're so cute. But I started when I was 10, so a 3/4 size is what I started on. Then I upgrade to a full size later. Yep. There are different sizes for every need. There's a violist in the Cleveland Orchestra, Richard Waugh. He's tremendous. He used to be a basketball player in college, and he was with the 100th Airborne, and he's about 6'6", and he plays the viola, and it looks like a little toy under his neck, you know? It's so funny. Yes, sir?
Play any music by jazz violinist Stefan Grappelli?
I'm in awe of him, but I was classically trained, so it's hard for me. Even when I played jazzy stuff like Moon Dance, you remember this?
Moon Dance. Even when I do that, my husband says, it still sounds like Mozart, dear. You need to jazz it a little better. So I love him, but I'm not quite at that jazzy level. Yes? Did you?
The other side, the flip side of his question or music, I love the simplicity of the Amish simple gifts, which CBS made into Edward R. Murrow's theme.
Yes.
What's your favorite simplistic?
That was one of them, I'll tell you. And there's also a song called Shokan's Farewell. It's from the Civil War series by Ken Burns. And this is a fiddle tune that kind of goes throughout. It has a little bit of shades of Shenandoah in it. You know? Fiddle sounding. You know, they ought to do a PBS show on you.
locally
You're
on
so cute.
WVIZ.
You're so
You know,
cute.
seriously.
You're so cute, Addie. Now
I think
there's
people
so much,
would enjoy it.
There's so much talent in this town alone.
Well,
It's like,
yes,
oh my
you're
God.
right.
You know, I meant to tell you guys, I played music from Downton Abbey. I created a program, and my string quartet did it at Trinity Cathedral. And CLV was there. And they said, would you like to play it for our Downton Abbey tea? We're having a big tea at the Ritz-Carlton. Would you guys like to play? Would we? So the four of us went, and we had all that beautiful music. Do you remember the theme goes, something like that. It just floats, and it's so beautiful. Then there's the music for the servants and the music for everybody, the Mary and what was the Matthew theme. They talked so loudly during this tea, we couldn't even hear ourselves.
Oh.
It was like, and CLV felt so bad. They said, sorry. They were in Downton Abbey garb from the 20s. And we had music from the Titanic, you know, because that's where Downton Abbey starts, with the Titanic's heir apparent had been on board. So we played music from the 20s and from the teens and Downton Abbey themes, and like screaming loud. It's like, we're not mic'd, we're not amplified.
Well, I think the questions are done. We've had quite a few. So if we are concluding, thank you so much.
Thank you for this wonderful
has been
opportunity.
wonderful. So as I mentioned, if you want to rewatch this segment, and you'll see the little tip I gave you to look her up and listen and watch her Valentine's Day thing that she did on YouTube, you will not be disappointed. If you like show tunes and movie music, it's a great way to spend about an hour.
Thank you, Addie. Thank you so much.
I loved it. So, going to conclude this, we hope you come to our other shows and watch our channel, SLA Video Productions, and be a subscriber, because then you're going to get notifications of what other shows and topics we're going to be covering. So if you're interested, please, subscribe, and we'd love to have you come again. You've been a really great audience. Thank you.
You really have. Thank you, guys. And thank you for this opportunity to play with your wonderful company.
And we want to hear from you. Contact us online or through social media with ideas and suggestions for future content. Also, you can help us enlighten and inspire others by sponsoring one of our video podcasts or any of our content.